I'm from Metro Detroit, so I've been here for about 9 years now and been on the eastern side of the Twin Cities now for 3 years, living in Woodbury. And so, are you from Stillwater?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so originally, Kevin, I was born in Milwaukee, and then my parents moved to Toledo, right in your backyard.
Okay. Yep.
Um, and then when I was like 5 years old, my parents split up, and I ended up in Stillwater. But it was just happenstance. Like my mom was on her way to California, and we stopped in Stillwater and never left. So I wasn't supposed to be here.
So, from the age of 5,
Yeah,
you've
more or less.
been
Yeah. So yeah, I grew up in Stillwater, and
okay.
then after high school, I went to college in Madison, and then to San Francisco, then briefly in Boston, then back here for a minute, then lived in St. Paul, and then moved down to Buenos Aires with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and then we were down there for about a little over a year, and then we came back to Charlotte and got married and had our first daughter. And then we moved back to Stillwater 16 years ago. So I grew up here, then I came back, is the short answer to that question.
What was it like growing up here? What was Stillwater like?
I mean, again, Kevin, relative to Toledo and, kind of back and forth to Detroit, it was lovely. Like, I can't remember the name of the river in Toledo, but you could light it on fire. And so, and it wasn't safe in our neighborhood. We lived on the north side of Toledo, and it was kind of dicey, and it was an old Polish community, and that had changed. And so coming here, it was kind of like as a kid, and I would have to go back and stay with my father every once in a while. And, growing up as a kid in Stillwater, it was just safe, and people were nice and almost trying to, shoot people and stuff. Like, it was great. Like, I never felt like a sense of safety like that as a kid. Like, it was lovely growing up in Stillwater. It was amazing. My mom was, broke. We were living in this kind of dumpy apartment. But it was, right up the hill from downtown Stillwater. So I could, skateboard downtown, jump in the river, go swimming, get ice cream. Used to be able to get a brat or a hot dog and a Coke for $1 at the grocery store downtown. I mean, it was lovely. And I could have freedom where, like, in Toledo, you couldn't, like, if it was, after, 8:00 at night, you're not leaving the house, right? Like, so, my mom didn't have to worry about me kind of running around when she was trying to work. Couldn't really afford daycare, so I was kind of on my own a lot. But she didn't have to worry about it. So I absolutely loved growing up in Stillwater. The city kind of saved my life, honestly. Like, it changed my mom and I's lives forever. My sister, it gave us stability and safety and great schools. Like, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But honestly, Kevin, I didn't think I would come back. But no one does. And we all do.
Well, welcome to the Twin Cities Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin King. This is our final episode of Season 3. We're closing out the season with the Mayor of Stillwater, Ted Kozlowski. So, Ted, welcome to the Twin Cities Leaders Podcast.
Thank you, Kevin. Happy to be here.
Good. I want to pick up on our conversation. So, tell me, I've only spoken to one other mayor, Mayor Ann Burt, who's the mayor of Woodbury. And I asked her the same question. I'm like, what is it like being the mayor? Like, I don't get a chance to talk to mayors every day.
I know it varies from city to city. I can tell you that. Like, I meet with Mayor Burt. She's amazing. I love Ann. She's awesome. Great people. But we all get together. Mayors from all over the metro area get together, and we all have a very different experience. So you'd probably get a different answer from just about every mayor. I think, for me, it's 99% of being the mayor of Stillwater is wonderful. We have a very engaged community. People tell you when you screw up, like, they're pretty vocal about it, but people also applaud you when you do well. And that honestly is different from a lot of cities. There are much larger cities where the mayor would get less phone calls in a month, or I get more phone calls in a day or a week than they get in a month from concerned citizens, right? So it's almost like I've got really nice guardrails, right? Because it's like, I know when I go do something wrong, do something right, because people here are really engaged. And so I think that's a little unique to, I mean, not certainly unique to Stillwater, but it's just more prevalent in Stillwater. And so it makes it, I mean, it's a lot of work. It's, these can be, it's a more or less a volunteer gig, and a light week would be, 20 hours. A heavy week is 60. It's doing a lot of work with staff, but it's really, honestly, Kevin, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I mean, it gives me purpose in a way I've never felt in any of the business stuff I've done. My mother-in-law thinks I'm really cool. Like, she lives in Alabama. Now she can say, my daughter's married to the mayor, right? So, there's a couple of perks, I guess. Right? I don't think she was too sure about me originally. But it can be really challenging, dealing with, I've been the mayor for 12 years. I've been on council for another 2, so almost 14 years of being on city council. And, COVID was really challenging. George Floyd was challenging. The recent ICE stuff was really challenging. There's challenging, big events, and then there's, kind of challenging smaller events. So it can be really hard. I mean, we've had, officer involved shootings and stuff that are really taxing on me emotionally, and my family as well. It kind of bleeds through the family stuff too. So, it's rewarding. It's challenging. You get to talk to a lot of people. But sometimes when my kids are little, I'd go to the grocery store and someone's just like, we need a public pool. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get some bacon and get out of here. Like, you're right. Like, here's my business card. Like, email me. Like, I don't have time to talk about a public pool right now. I got 2 little kids in a shopping cart screaming, right? I mean, so there's those things too, right? Where it's like, sometimes going out to lunch or going out to dinner gets interrupted by somebody who wishes to express some opinions, right? So it can be challenging, but it's pretty fun by and large.
So what led up to, you mentioned city council. So what led up to you saying, hey, this is something I want to pursue?
I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. I had worked on some political campaigns. I worked for the Republicans in Madison. I worked for the Democrats. I worked on Tammy Baldwin's first campaign for Congress. In Madison, I worked for Gavin Newsom when I lived in San Francisco, when he first ran for mayor of San Francisco. And, so I'd been involved in politics. I was a poli-sci major. I think my degree's sitting around here somewhere. So I was always interested in politics, but I never thought I'd be on a ballot. I certainly never thought I'd be involved, like at the local level. But I was on the board of our local food shelf, when my wife and I first moved back, and that's kind of how we re-engaged with the community. My wife read an article about how food shelves struggle in the summertime because there's no school lunch, and less people donate money in the summer. They donate at the end of the year, around the holidays, and the food shelf was struggling. So my wife and I, and my dear late friend, Sean Smalley, who owns Smalley's Caribbean Barbecue, we got together, and my friend, I didn't know Brad Glenn at the time, but he's the owner of Liftbridge Brewery. He was the new brewery in town. I grabbed him, and we had a big party and raised a bunch of money for Valley Outreach. And so they're like, you should be on the board. And we got re-engaged with the community that I grew up in, and a friend of mine called me and he was like, you need to run for city council. And I'm like, I think my daughters were 1 and 2 at the time. And we had just started our company. And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, how much time do I have? And he's like, 3 hours. I'm like, 3 hours? That's when the filing deadline closed. Like, he called me on like a Friday. and so I go to my wife. I'm like, should I do this? And she's like, I don't know. That sounds like, why? Like, why would we do this? And I call my parents and they're like, hell no. Like, you just started a business. You've got 2 babies. Like, no, you're crazy. And so, again, I was not the dream child, certainly in my teenage years. So my parents would always say, drive reckless and aim for the ditch whenever I'd leave the house, because they know I'd do the opposite. Well, they told me not to run for city council. So, of course, I go down to City Hall and give them my $5 and fill it out. And that was kind of it. I didn't expect to win. I kind of told myself and my family that, we're just put my name out there. We'll see what happens. But I'm not going to campaign. I'll talk to a bunch of people, but, I don't know that I'm going to do all the signs and all the stuff. Like, if people want to elect me, great. If not, then, we'll go on and do our own thing. But I ended up coming in like a very distant second in our primary, and it kind of just irked me a little bit. I'm like, wait, like, okay, like, there are three of us in this primary. And I'm like, I want to put my foot on the gas on this. And, like, I think I've got a different vision for the city because, local politics are hard. You've got a lot of very well-intentioned people, but, it's like insurance agents and real estate agents, that are, trying to elevate themselves sometimes, not always for bad reasons, but, you're not getting paid to do it. And then it's, people that are usually like later in life that are looking for some way to give back, right? There really weren't young people like going after those types of seats. And I just thought I had a different vision. So it was a lot about the bridge and the bridge construction at the time. Of course, I was watching the movie Cars, right? Because I had children and I love cars. So the whole idea of the freeway bypassing the town is like the main premise of the movie, right? And we were about to have that happen. And I didn't see anybody at council or the mayor that really had their eyes on the prize with that. And so that really was kind of what drove me to like say, you know what, like I'm actually going to fight for this and get engaged because I'm worried about the vibrancy of the town I grew up in. And so that was kind of it, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to figure it out.
So when you became the mayor, I mean, were you like, okay, now you're the overseer of this city? I mean, was it?
Well, so I was on council for 2 years first, and then our
Yeah.
mayor went to prison and had to resign.
Okay.
Right. So we had a little thing. So we needed a new mayor. And so so after 2 years on council, I kind of got the lay of the land. And then all this, drama happened with our current mayor. Everybody talks about all the fraud stuff that's going on now. He basically got convicted of fraud with Medicare, I guess, 12 years ago. And the FBI raided his office. And so we were faced with needing a new mayor. so we had an election and I ran against this wonderful gentleman, John Reinberger, who's a super great human. But him and I, we ran against each other for mayor and I ultimately won. And then, then it was that kind of, a little bit of an oh shit moment where, okay, like now what? But it's honestly, your role changes a bit because when I first got elected, my staff didn't know me that well. Our city staff didn't know me as well. I'd only been there for 2 years. I was this young guy, relatively new back into town. And, honestly didn't have the world's greatest reputation when I left as a teenager, right? Like, they're like, who is this kid? So it took, in order to really affect change, it took a while for both the community to have trust in me and for our city staff to have trust in me and for our other council members to have trust in me. And that takes a while. You've got to build that trust and talk to people. If you really want to do anything, right? I'm still just one vote on council, whether I'm the mayor or a council member. Like we more or less have the same amount of authority. The only thing the mayor in Stillwater can do different from a council member is I can set the agenda. So if there's something I don't want to talk about or I don't think the city should be focusing on, I can yank it off the agenda or I can add something to our council meeting agenda. I can declare a state of emergency. That's kind of about it. I guess I can do proclamations and I can make a day for Kevin King on your birthday, right? But outside of those little things, like there's very little that I can do that's different mechanically from just being on city council. And so that comes with really building trust with the community and trust with your city staff when you can start to actually do stuff.
So you briefly mentioned that you were starting your own business before you came on city council. So what made you interested in becoming like an entrepreneur?
I mean, that's something, Kevin, I've never taken the safe route or the well-traveled road, as they would say. I've always, been cursed with having to do things differently from everybody else. Or blessed, I suppose, maybe. I don't know. It depends on the day, Kevin. I'm still trying to figure it out and I'm almost, I just turned 49. But when I graduated from college, I went right out to Silicon Valley like everybody did in 1999, 2000. And I was fortunate to meet this amazing woman who was my mentor, who worked for a venture capital company, and she was doing all these different .com startups. And so She was cool. She threw me into the deep end of the pool, like in a pool filled with sharks. That was very deep when I was like just green, green as could be, fresh out of college, no clue. And really seriously like threw me off the dock. And I loved it. It was super hard, super challenging. I felt way out of place. Everybody around me went to Stanford, MIT, Harvard. You know, they had their PhDs in applied mathematics, and I went to Edgewood College in Madison, Wisconsin, right? I'm a political science major. And so I had to work really hard. Huge weeks, getting up at, 4:35 a.m., not getting home till 8, 9 o'clock at night, driving from San Francisco down to Palo Alto or Mountain View on, the San Antonio road exit every day. But it was really exciting. I mean, it was like, the beginning of the internet. Like I was working with Google when they were like a 30-person company. I got to watch all this stuff grow and it was just fun. It was just different at the time from what I felt everybody else was doing. It was risky. You never knew if you're going to have a job the next day. I mean, so I did like 7 startups inside of like 6 years or something. I mean, kind of always with the same group of people, but this company gets acquired by this company, then I go there, and then they get acquired by this company, and then they don't like me anymore, so then I go to this company. I mean, it was like playing a crazy game of Frogger, just trying to keep my awesome apartment in San Francisco. And so it was fun, but ultimately I realized pretty quick that I didn't want that working for other people, honestly, was like I was good at it and I could kind of, I don't want to say pretend, but I didn't really enjoy it after a while. Like, I don't want to say I got burnt out, but it was just, that's kind of why I had like my wife and I, when we were just dating, we both kind of had our young life crisis and moved to Argentina. It was kind of after all of that. My company got acquired and I had to go to Boston for a minute. And it was just like, I felt like I was spending an enormous amount of energy making very, very wealthy people just a little bit richer. A lot of the products and services that we were selling would help large companies make a little bit more money, but it didn't really seem like it was doing a tremendous amount of good in the world. And it was a lot of like kind of my personal energy that was, fueling all of that. And it wasn't particularly satisfying. I can't say that, having a good income in my 20s in California wasn't a blast. It was super fun. I learned a lot. I met tons of interesting people. Got to do really cool things. I mean, incredible travel for business and stuff, but it wasn't the most rewarding thing. And so we just wanted to figure out a way to actually help people make money and have fun. Those were kind of the 3 things my wife and I had an epiphany with, where it's like, I saw a lot of people, making money and having fun, but it was not really helping anybody. I saw a lot of people, helping people and working in nonprofits and having fun, but not making any money. And right. There was kind of like this trifecta. I was like, I couldn't really find too many examples of people that were checking all 3 of those boxes. And so it was more of a mission to see if we could do that. And the entrepreneurial part of it was more of a mechanism or a result of that. Like, if we want to do all of those things, we're going to have to build our own thing. Like, there's no job that's going to give me all 3 of those things. We're going to have to build our own. Was kind of the idea that we came to, because it was really the only option, right? Like, find a job that checks all those boxes. I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's some, but they're few and far between. So we just figured we'd build our own.
So for my audience who may not know, talk to me just a little bit about what your business is. Like, what kind of business do you, consulting work, right? Marketing?
Yeah, it's evolved. So it didn't really work out the way we wanted it to. So we started, when we were in Charlotte, we started a company. I think we called it Life Raft Consulting or something, but it more or less, like, I was working for a bigger company when we first got back, not Computer Associates. I can't remember the name, Network Solutions. And they had me going around the Southeast teaching people about how to use Google AdWords, Google Analytics, what digital marketing looked like, kind of at the beginning of digital marketing for the masses. Because prior to that, the only big companies were giving Google money. And once they released Google AdWords finally to everybody, they were trying to be a big agency for small business. And they're really, I'm not going to say they're dishonest, but they're just taking like huge margins. So like if a company had, some small auto body repair shop had a $500 monthly budget, they're taking $250 of it as their management fee and then spending $250 on Google ads, and the customer is not getting good results and it wasn't really working. And so I wanted to help those people. My mom was a small business owner. Those were the people I felt like were kind of getting fleeced. And it just frankly kind of pissed me off. I'm like, if I can just figure out a way to do that. And so we tried the agency approach. Like we're just going to be the agency, but we're just going to charge flat rates and be transparent and try and help small business owners. And we scaled that up. I think we had like 120 small business clients, and we're getting, $150 a month from each of them. And that sounds great. But it was so much, it was just impossible. Like it just blew up. Like there was no way to scale it. I'm like, it's because the reality of it is it's harder to help the auto body repair shop, your local brewery, your local insurance agent than it is to help Toro or Polaris or 3M or, insert big company. They've got more budget. They have more savvy marketing professionals to work with. It's easy to sell lawnmowers, right? Helping, lift bridge, sell root beer online is a challenge, right? It's really hard and they don't have the budget that 3M does. And so when I figured out the agency method wouldn't work at scale to help small business owners, I'm like, you know what? Like I can train people to do this on their own. Like we're going to do forget about the 3-day conference you go to like small business success conference, right? I'm going to do straight 60 hours of Google AdWords and teach business owners how to do everything by themselves so they never need to hire somebody like me. And so that was kind of the mission of Demand Quest, which is what we still run, was to really go out and train people so well that then even if they did have to hire an agency, at least they would know what they were hiring and what they were paying for, and they'd be better able to manage these people, right? They wouldn't get scammed by all these fly-by-night people that, promise all of these things and then, take half their money and don't do anything. So that was the goal of it. And it didn't, again, that got off to a rocky start too. That was tough. We would charge, $600 for our class, right? Which is like a week long every day. And we had this gorgeous training space in Minneapolis and Northeast that I think my rent at the time was like $7,000 a month or something. And, we had borrowed from my parents, put all of our money into it. I mean, and we were in the hole and we kept doing it and we kept adjusting prices. And then I would do it I would do it free. We're going to do free classes for National Small Business Week. And we just have 1,000 people show up. We're just smoking. I'm like, okay. And in there, I'm surveying them. I'm like, how was it? They're like, this is the best thing I've ever done. This is going to be amazing. I'm like, how much did you pay for it? And they're like, $500, $800. And so I would keep trying to tweak my prices, and I went down to $199, doing every trick in the book, and nobody's signing up. And I remember my mentor Cheryl, we had a company called SmartDB, and we were selling software in a box for $99 at Office Max. And this was during Y2K, pre-Y2K, where you had to move information from your mainframe, otherwise the world's going to end kind of thing, right? And she took over the company and she was like, this is ridiculous. It's perceived value. She started charging $10,000 a seat versus $99, and sales just took off because the perception of value. And so just kind of as a Hail Mary attempt, at this point, we're probably $300,000 in the hole and it's not working. We changed our pricing, I think, to $1,800, and we sold out. And so it was kind of crazy, but unfortunately, so it worked for us financially, and it was fun, and it got us out of the hole and all of those things. But it wasn't the audience that I was aiming for. I was trying to help the small business owners. Now it's Target, Toro, 3M, right? It's Best Buy. It's all suits in the room, and that was great. I mean, they were awesome. But again, it wasn't, you'd get the occasional, and then it gave us the ability to have kind of some lower cost options to help small business owners. And so, it worked and it was working, but everybody wanted to hire us and all of our instructors. So they would sit through all of this, and we're telling you, this is exactly how to do it on your own. So you don't need to hire us. And then at the end of it, they'd be like, can we just hire you? And so we kind of have to cherry pick our own clients, and we became kind of a flipped agency. So instead of, we've got great agencies in Minnesota. There's shady ones all over, but in Minnesota, we've got Periscope, we've got, a bunch of great agencies, but they're really expensive. And, like you're not going in there with a small budget, where I would just be part of the team at Toro, right? Like I would train their marketing staff on how to do all of this. And then instead of paying an agency $200,000 a month, they could pay me 10. And I'm just kind of looking over their shoulder, making sure they're doing the right things. And so it was always kind of this, it was nice for us, like, again, young family, like to have like a couple of different things going on, where we kind of had an agency side that we really didn't advertise, but we also had the training side, which was kind of our bread and butter. So it was kind of fun. But then, of course, COVID happens. And we had really, the in-person training was working well, but the consulting work and the agency work, working for the Toros of the world, was paying better with less overhead, right? And so we started doing a lot more custom training. Like we did a lot of training for the Air Force, and other agencies would hire us to come in and onboard their staff. And that was really interesting too. We started going global. Like we're flying all over the planet, teaching people at agencies at other big companies on how to do this stuff, like to a room full of people at company XYZ. Then COVID happened, and basically it just went straight consulting, because everybody needed us all of a sudden. Like Boston Scientific, their sales force was grounded, right? They're not sending their sales team out to hospitals and doctors anymore. They realize they need digital advertising more now for lead generation than they ever did. And so kind of the consulting side of it just took off. And that's kind of where we find ourselves today. So, fortunately, all of our leases ran out kind of within the first 3 months of COVID. So I was on the hook for the one in Minneapolis for a solid year during COVID, which sucked. That was a bit of a hard check to write.
Do you still have that place in Minneapolis?
No.
Okay. I'm curious, like, just through the process of it all. I mean, did you ever want to quit? Like, what happened when you had doubt? Like, what kept you going?
I think Russell Simmons. I think Russell Simmons gave me a lot of hope, Kevin. Like there was this, like Russell Simmons said something about like starting Def Jam. He's like, the minute you're like you're broke, you're out. Like he's like, don't give up. He's like, the minute you think you're absolutely done, it's gonna turn around. And I'm like, I don't believe you, Russell Simmons. But I remember coming home and my wife had ordered pizza. And I'm like, what credit card do we put that on? Like, we don't have pizza money right now. And so like, that was kind of at that point where, yeah, like we're toast. And that's when we changed our pricing and things just kind of took off. But oh yeah, I was there for sure. I was ready. Like I'm like looking at jobs. Like I'll like whatever. I'll do whatever crappy job. Like I'll work in a cubicle and do some dumb stuff. Like I've got kids, right? Like I mean, oh yeah, I had my resume out there. I mean, I was losing hope very quick.
And that's because the reality of it is people see the end result, but they don't.
Right.
They don't see this part, and a lot of people do quit. You know what I mean, for a multitude of reasons. And so I'm always fascinated by like when you get to that point, what is it that keeps you going? You know what I mean? And for you, was was the rapper Russell Simmons, right?
Right. Well, it's just not. Yeah, I think entrepreneurship's not for everybody. When I've talked to like high school students and college students about it, it's not like, it's more of a personality trait than it is like like there's people that want to be entrepreneurs that probably shouldn't be, and there's people that are entrepreneurs that probably should just go work at 3M, right? And neither one of those things are good or bad, right? It's finding what fits your personality. And for me, I kind of took the corporate stuff off the table. It just didn't fit for my personality and for the life that I wanted to live. Like it wouldn't work. And so once you kind of remove that and that no longer becomes an option, the only way out is to go this way, and you just have to figure it out. So, and again, I think that's why sometimes it's a curse. Like the taking the road less traveled is challenging. It's really hard, but I think a lot of people do it. It's almost, I don't want to say it's self-destructive, but it's almost like you kind of have to like, figure out what sucks before you can figure out what works, right? And And that's kind of what kept me going. It's like I knew I could always get that job and go back to California, but I'm just like, I know I'm going to be miserable. And I don't want to be miserable. So
I'm curious about like, so what feels different between like leading like in your business versus leading in a community? You know, is there any parallel there?
yeah, I mean, it's kind of wildly different. And I think honestly, like if it's been really good for me personally to see, between leading a nonprofit, leading a city, and leading businesses, there's a lot of things that should overlap more than they do in reality. And it's interesting because like the business stuff, you tend to think of it as very tactical. Like it's steps driven, it's list driven, it's goal and mission driven kind of thing. And it's not necessarily about the why, right? It's about the result. It's more results oriented, right? It needs to be because it's like for profit. It's how we're trying to feed our families and stuff. And so it's not that that's bad. Leadership within a community like Stillwater as the mayor is completely different. It's about passion. You have to demonstrate to people that you care about what you do, what you're doing, and why. Otherwise, they'll never listen to you, right? Like, where if you're just the boss, you can be like, well, do this, right? Like, cities don't work that way. I can't tell people what to do, right? Like, they have to like you and trust you and know that you care. And so it's certainly more about communication, relationships, building trust. Kind of all of those things are much more important on the community side of things. I guess I don't want to say they're more important, but they're the only things that really are going to make you an effective leader on the politics of the community side, where on the business side, a lot of times people will be really successful just being tactical, right? Like, I've got a better plan and we're going to execute this plan. And it doesn't matter if staff trusts me or not, just do the plan. Where again, like I said, the city's going to be completely different.
Was there anything that surprised you when you came into your mayoralship that took some getting used to that maybe was different than when you started, your businesses?
I mean, a lot. I mean, it's one of those jobs, and it's hard to call it a job, really. I mean, it's a calling, right? I don't really get paid for it. But it's what I get up in the morning for, right? And I don't want my clients to hear that, but I do actually have some really cool clients that are really fun to work with. I gotta say, I've got some really interesting clients right now. But it's, I guess honestly, the ability to affect change, right? Like, I never thought I'd be in a position where you could do things that would have generational impacts on a community, right? I mean, I'm surprised at how rewarding I find the position of being the mayor and being on city council. Like, I never thought this job would be this rewarding in a million years. Like, I thought it'd be interesting. I thought it'd be fun. I was kind of worried tactically about downtown and the new bridge, right? They're like the tactical issues that you see. I never thought I'd be doing it as long as I have. And I never thought that I could be part of something, again, that's having generational impacts on our surroundings. So yeah, that really it really did surprise me at how rewarding it was.
When like, how far in your term did you realize, like, did you realize that immediately, or was this like the first year you're like, oh, like, I can really make an impact
No,
here?
the first year was a little painful, right? I mean, we're coming off a mayor that went to prison. Nobody knows who I am. Like, that was hard. And that was not like, oh, this is I wouldn't have said this is the most rewarding thing ever. My first year into this, Kevin, not a chance. My wife's still looking at me like, why are we doing this? Like, why are people yelling at you at the grocery store? Like, it's it certainly took a while, and I honestly I don't know when. I think I don't know how to say this in a way that, but honestly, like, COVID pushed me so hard to my limits of like stress and anxiety, and everybody was freaked out. And everybody was looking at me at this point. I think I had built enough trust up with our community where I became the person to look at for guidance. And again, that part was rewarding because staff starts to know me, and now they're starting to actually listen to me, right? When council's starting to listen to me a little bit, like, not that they're, I'm telling them what to do, but they're like, okay, I kind of I think Ted might be right now, right? Like, I finally got to a point where they're like, you might have a point there, Mayor. Versus, I don't know, right? And so we were in a really good place, and then COVID happened, and that's when everybody's like, what do we do? Right. And I've got an entire community looking at me, wondering, where do we go? What do we do? How are we going to survive this? How's our town going to survive this? And it was the most stressful thing. I would be in the garage, on my phone all day. I mean, I had people calling from Seattle, worried about their mom, who they haven't heard from. Is she dead in her house? Can you have the police go check on her? I'd have 3 of those calls a day, right? And I'm trying to calm down somebody. I mean, it was, but I was just on the phone, right? I'm just, drinking coffee on the phone. And I'd get done at the end of the day, and I'd be like, God, I'm my wife, I'm I don't know why I'm so tired. And she'd be like, are you kidding me? I listened to you for an hour. I'm ready to take a nap. I'm but all I did was talk on the phone, right? I wasn't doing anything. And it was, that part was exhausting, but it was also getting through it, and kind of every day I would post, here's what's going on. Here's what I'm learning. I've talked to the governor, I've talked to the Department of Health, I'm on these Zoom calls, I'm talking to all these people, I'm talking to our local hospital and our, all of our local law enforcement and public safety. And I'm here's what we're doing. Here's what the governor's doing. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're going to try and do to, for businesses and things. And it was, again, I don't want to say that it was fun. It certainly wasn't fun. But it absolutely pushed me to my limits in ways that I've never experienced in business or in personal life before. It was, it was really, really hard, but we did some really cool things. I think our community came together, and we got so much stronger as a community. Tactically, we did things let bars and restaurants go into the parking lots, even though technically it wasn't exactly legal. We just kind of did some things, and we made it so you could drink a bottle of wine in all of our parks and get takeout. And we started decorating downtown for Christmas. So we turned downtown Stillwater into this magical, you're walking into a snow globe. And so we could have something compelling for people to do outside and to gather in the wintertime, right? And we really came together as a community during that crisis. And I think that'll last a generation. I think we're so tied tightly together as a community after that. The things that came out of COVID and the bonds that were created during that in Stillwater, we were all in it together. Even if you didn't have a business downtown, everybody went out of their way to go support our business, right? It was hey, everybody, go eat downtown. We're struggling. And I would put that on Facebook, and everybody did. And we took care of our businesses during that period. The city did a good job. Public safety did a great job. We just kind of rallied around ourselves, and we really took care of each other. And it was magic to be a part of that. It was absolutely magic.
And I hope, this was a once in a lifetime experience. I hope we don't ever have to experience anything like this again. But just to come out on the other side of it and be able to talk about it is a blessing. Because there was so many people that can't say that. And I remember I was living in Minneapolis, and just the uncertainty from day to day. Of where you could go, what you could do, who you could be around, not around.
Playgrounds are open. Are they not open? We have all the stairs in Stillwater. Kevin, that was I had a doctor call me who was doing the stairs in Stillwater, and apparently somebody was hacking up a lung, and just spreading stuff all over. And all of these people are outside, which is good. That's what we want, right? Be outside, but the stairs are narrow, and there was the trek up to Everest. There are 500 people doing the stairs at the same time. And this doctor's this is a super spreader event. You might as well just go to a rave. You got to shut this down. I'm do I really need to shut down stairs? It was painful. It was super painful. So every day there's like a decision point like that where it's like, and you have no idea. And there's not a book on the shelf. I mean, like there is kind of for pandemics, but not for like, the playgrounds and the stairs and kind of these little things. And so, yeah, it was super.
And just to be a person of calm and certainty and peace, and when they come to you and you're not freaking out because it's going to make them freak out, you know what I mean?
That,
And just
that was, yeah, that was the communication piece. So every day I'd be like, here's what we're doing and this is why, right? Here's what we're doing and this is why. And it was always just like, everybody be cool. We're going to get through this, right? Like it was always just, it was, the news and media, they're always going to sensationalize things, right? To gain viewers. And I studied politics. I know how media and politics and things work. Like, so I just kind of took the opposite tact and just like very factual to the point. Here's what we're doing. Here's why. Reach out if you have any questions. Like I believe everybody in the not everybody. I would bet 50% of the city has my cell phone number in their phone. Right? Like, so like people are not afraid to call me. Like,
well, I'm honored you answered my call. No,
I don't know, Kevin.
you got 75,000 people. That's your cell number. Last week you and I we were talking about. My point of view is that leadership is art. And that's my point of view. And I want you to share what you had said about it in terms of like how that's reflected in your experience.
Well, I can't remember what I said now, Kevin. I wish you could play that one back for me. But, you're the only person that's ever kind of built a bridge between those two things. I've never thought of myself as an artist, right? I can't play any instrument. Like I can't draw, I can't paint, right? I certainly can't sing. So the idea that leadership is art was kind of new to me. But you think about like the things that art accomplishes, right? Whether you're the artist or it's the work itself, like art is, brings people together, right? It's about, that painting that inspires people and makes people feel a way, right? It's the artist with the blank canvas, right? Like trying to create something, right? And, you can kind of look at the community like that, but it's like everyone's hands on the brush. Artists, it's about passion, right? I mean, they're tapping into their own passion to evoke emotion and connection, and so like thinking about like what artists, like I can see I think it's beautiful what you're doing and the mission of your series and your exhibition, but like that to me, like it was kind of it's a new concept for me, but I can see similarities in that. Like it's about, art's about leaving a legacy, right? Like, so, being the mayor of Stillwater and some of the things that I've been a part of and, buying all of the riverfront in downtown Stillwater, right? Like the city owns that. We've got the entirety of it for the most part is going to be now is a giant city park that'll be there for generations. Right. Bringing the community together. Right. Like, I mean, there's,
as we were talking, like I look at it, it's a reflection of society. Like it's subjective. You know what I mean? It's the point of view is how someone sees art. You see the good, the bad, the ugly, the all in between. Like it's all artistic, and like in leadership in life, it just mirrors it.
Right.
You're gonna get vulnerability. You're gonna get strong leadership. You're gonna get bad leadership. You're gonna get all of the above. Is going to because that's a life. That's what you get in life, and so you don't have this. You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but you don't have this abstract version of reality of like these checkpoints. Is you do this and this makes you that. It's like no, this is someone's lived experience, and this is being reflected back to you.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, like the bridge, like where it makes sense, and in the mayor role is kind of the bringing the community together. Some of the legacy stuff, right? Like that shared vision or that feeling, right? That I think you have when you're part of what we're doing. And again, I think a very large part of our community is we're very engaged with the city and our historic downtown, our businesses up the hill. That kind of engagement, I think, is beautiful, and I think it evokes a feeling, and again, kind of that shared reality that we all have of living here, right? And what that means to be in Stillwater and to live in Stillwater. Obviously, I think it's beautiful. I think a lot of people share that opinion. But like navigating all of that was, again, sometimes, again, it's like, like I think we were talking about it before, Kevin. It's like there are times where it's like, if I were a musician, it's like I know I screwed up that show, right? That was not my best performance. And you don't always know exactly why, right? Like, and then you have other times, and it can be, like a street assessment hearing where everybody comes in with the pitchforks because we're charging them $5,000 to fix the road in front of their house, right? And I explain it like brilliantly, and everybody goes away going, you know what, that actually makes sense. And I'm like, I kind of crushed that show, right? Like, right, we got that, right? I felt like I was a little bit of a ballerina that day, right? Like, like you're explaining it in a way that makes sense, and people are putting down the pitchforks and torches and kind of thing. So, I think it's, at the end of the day, you have to be creative, right? It can't be that checkbox that, a lot of the CEOs I work for would give me some book, right? With step one and being a leader is this, and then this, and then this. Like, I think it is, to be truly effective, I think it needs to be more of a creative human experience, than it is, the goals and mission and execution part. I mean, obviously all those things are important too, but it needs to start with that kind of shared vision and what do we want to see on this canvas, right? What do we want Stillwater to look like? How are we, and again, it's kind of like, if being the mayor was if I was a painter, I'd be a muralist, like where I'd invite everybody else to come, to be part of this mural, right? Because it takes a lot of different voices to create the vision and the mural that is Stillwater. And putting all those pieces together, I think, is kind of a creative process, more or less. I mean, I was going to every single person I know saying, what are you good at? How can you help? Okay, we're going to put you there. What are you like? You've got a big checkbook. You're coming too, right? Like, you're an artist. You're coming. Like, I mean, we put together a group and really made a mural of how we were going to survive the pandemic, and then how we're going to survive the winter, and how we're going to keep our downtown and keep it vibrant and keep it, engaging and beautiful and all of those things. And again, like it's kind of nice to think about it in terms of art. And I think it is. It's certainly creative. It's a creative process.
How do you reset? How do you kind of unwind? You have two demanding positions, so how do you make sure that you're staying present and taking care of yourself in the process?
Yeah, I mean, well, we moved. So we, like, one thing I gotta say, like, yeah, not everybody, like, we have a more comfortable living environment now. We had 2 bedrooms in this tiny little spot, and we're all on top of each other. So we moved, and that's like mental health has been huge with just having a little more space for everybody. 2 teenage girls, and everybody it was a lot. But we're really close to the Main Street stairs. And so, like, I try and do the stairs as much as possible. I can't say do it every day, but probably more days than not. We ski. We're fortunate. We get to do a lot of vacations because we're more or less remote at this point. And so we've got a flexible schedule. So as the kids allow, we travel a lot. But skiing's kind of our family thing. Like, we spend a lot of time in Colorado, and I need to be in the mountains or the woods. My wife's more of the beach person, so we try to do both. Every year if we can, go to the beaches, go to the mountains, and that's kind of it. And then, of course, the river, the St. Croix River, is my happy place. Up until last year, I've always had a boat on the river. We just weren't using it anymore. But I'm already boat shopping, Kevin. Like, I need to get back on the water. That was really our spot. Like, I mean, we would use our boat when the kids were little 60, 70 days of summer. I mean, I'd go through like 2,000 gallons of gas in the summer. Like, we were out there all the time. Like, we kind of lived on the river. And so, yeah, the St. Croix in general is kind of my happy place.
This segment is sponsored by Kowalski's Markets, where it's all about the joy of good food. So, Mayor, I'm going to get you out of here on this question I ask all my guests, and that is, what is your Twin Cities hidden gem? And it can be event and a place or an experience that you think more people should know about.
That's so hard, Kevin. I mean, that's the one question you told me you're going to ask, and I struggle with it. I struggled with it. I talked to my wife and kids about it, and we all had completely different answers. I could give you 100, right? That across the state, of things. But when it really came down to being specific to Stillwater and it kind of hit me. My wife said it last night as we're talking about this, and it's really the World Snow Sculpting event that we have in the winter. It is absolutely the most beautiful thing I've ever been a part of. I think it's the most beautiful thing we've ever done in Stillwater. We have 16 artists, 15 of them that are international, that fly from Turkey, Taiwan, Ecuador, Mexico, Denmark, Norway, like everywhere, the UK. They fly into Stillwater in the middle of January, and they do these giant ice or snow sculptures that are 10 feet by 10 foot by 10 foot cubes, and turn downtown Stillwater into this magical museum of snow sculptures. And at first I thought this whole thing was kind of crazy, but the love of this, Kevin, like these artists that I've got to meet over the last 6 years, some of the teams keep coming back. This is the coolest group of people. And it's this thing where everybody in Stillwater has something to do with this event. Like all these different families host the artists. So Team Peru showed up, and they'd never been to Minnesota in January. They didn't have boots. They didn't have gloves. And so the host family is let's go to Walmart, and they're buying boots and gloves and all this stuff. It's the most wonderful, loving, cool event we've ever done. It's not exactly a hidden gem. We get a lot of people that check it out, but for anybody watching, it's seriously being involved in that event as a sponsor or volunteer, or just coming down and meeting these artists. It's the coolest group of people. I mean, these artists show up from all over. They come to Stillwater in January. They drink the town dry. It's hide all the single men and women. They're all beautiful. They're all these beautiful, crazy artists, running around. It's the most magical, week in Stillwater. So I would say that.
The World Snow Sculpture.
It's the World Snow Sculpting Championships, actually. It's a contest of sorts. But it's the biggest snow sculpting event in the world, and we host it in Stillwater, and we have, like I said, teams from all over the planet fly in. All of these artists descend on Stillwater, and then all of their fans, right? If you're Team Ecuador, everybody in the Twin Cities from Ecuador is coming out to support Team Ecuador, right? So it's this little weird World Cup thing. We have a team from Mongolia that comes. That's amazing. And people will fly all over the U.S. to come see artists from Mongolia and Stillwater, Minnesota. And it's just the most loving, beautiful thing. Don't think about the sculptures are amazing. I don't want to not give credit to the actual amazing sculptures, but the beauty and love of it is meeting all the artists and watching how all the artists interact with each other. And everybody in Stillwater has a friend in Morocco now, right? We all have friends in Mongolia, right? It's crazy. So that's, I think it's the coolest thing we've ever done.
So I'm gonna come visit. I'm gonna come and do that in January.
Bring your parka, dude. Bring your parka.
Mayor Kozlowski, I appreciate your time today. I really enjoyed the conversation, and really appreciate your time again.
No, thank you, Kevin. I think this is wonderful and lovely to meet you. I can't wait to hang out and get our thumbnail. I can show you around town for a little bit. Come check it out.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, guys, that wraps up Season 3, Episode 10 of the Twin Cities Leaders Podcast. You can find me on Spotify, listen on Apple Podcasts, and also for behind the scenes and clips from the mayor's episode today, you can find it on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So I will see you guys next season in September. I'll see you soon.
Thank you all.